its home floor to Indiana in the Eastern Conference semis on Sunday. The New York Knicks trailed by 20 in Boston, under 7 to go in the third. They've never won a playoff game since 97-98 when they trailed by that much, but they didn't have OG Anunoby and Jalen Brunson back in the late 90s. Wouldn't have made much sense for them to. They would have been infants. Anunoby and Brunson scored or assisted on 27 of New York's 30 third-quarter points. And the Knicks got within shouting distance, and now they're even closer, and now they're tied as Brunson hits the corner three. And he continued to make big-time threes. Here behind the back, the step back with Horford in his vicinity. And now New York leads, trailing by one. Brunson finds OG Anunoby with the corner three. Brunson scored or assisted on 11 of the Knicks' 19 points in clutch time. He missed a short one. He could have won it in regulation, but in overtime, OG Anunoby, backdoor, plus the free throw, 3-point lead. Next, Knicks possession is Anunoby. Mikal Bridges, this was a gigantic shot with 2.5 to go. And Bridges, who played great defense, hit that big shot. Anunoby and Brunson scored or assisted on 55 of 63 Knicks second half points. They scored 20 plus in the second half each. The first Knicks teammates to do that in a playoff half on the road since Patrick Ewing and Allen Houston. As I mentioned, that ridiculous stat about the scoring or assisting on those points in the second half and overtime. Brian Windhorst joins us now from Boston. And Brian, given that New York did not beat Boston in the regular season, given that, as we just established, they trailed by 20 points in the second half, I think you can make a case that even though the playoff ledger will only show 1-0, you could actually make a case it's worth more than that. How would you measure the significance of this New York win?
They had to win this game because the circumstances that gave them this opportunity may not present themselves again. And, you know, they were saying to each other on the court, like, we've been here before, we can do this. And that's a cool thing to say, and you buck up your teammate. But the truth is that they had not. They had not been here before, and they had not done this against the Celtics or any of the top teams in the league. And, you know, they did have some confidence from what happened in that Detroit series. Scott, they are somehow, this team that didn't win any really big games for like 6 months, they're 4-0 on the road in the playoffs, which I can't explain that. But I will say this. When they traded for Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby in those separate deals a year apart, and they paid very dearly for them, this is the kind of game that they traded them for. They needed them against Boston. They needed them to be able to defend these big giant wings. And Anunoby and Bridges were awesome down the stretch. Obviously, Brunson made plays, but having those wings made a huge difference in getting this victory.
You and I agree, and I'm curious if we agree for the same reason. You're saying they had to win this game. They had to win this game because Boston went 15 of 60. Like, that's what they went from 3 in this game. They're not going to do that again, but just looking at that number on the page, that is a plan that doesn't make a ton of sense if you're just going to keep chucking them and they don't go in. What do you make of that number on the page?
Yes, so we know that the Celtics are a super high volume three-point shooting team. We know that they have games kind of like this occasionally. They've never been this bad before. And I've been at games, even in the playoffs, where they have bad three-point shooting games, and they'll come in after the game, and Joe Mazzulla and their players, Tatum and Brown, will kind of be a little bit defiant and say, well, this is our process. This is what got us to 60 wins. This is what got us to the title. Not even they could do it tonight. They kind of went through the motions of saying, you know, we got to look at the film, and maybe we're just a little bit too many threes. It was laughable, Scott.
You
at one
have
point,
a plan
they
B,
took
man.
19 out of 20 shots were threes. Not only that, they would run actions that would get their players into matchups that they wanted. They would get Jason Tatum on Karl Towns. They would get Jalen Brunson defending Jaylen Brown. They, you know, down the stretch, Tatum was on Mitchell Robinson. They did the hard work to create the matchup, and they would bail the Knicks out. And look, obviously that's the way they were built, but when you've missed 43s, continuing to take them, not the best plan. So this is a one-off situation, but it was a one-off situation the Knicks took advantage of, and that's the most important thing right now.
Well, Indiana did the exact same thing on Sunday against Cleveland, and now Kenny Atkinson with Cleveland says there's real concern about the availability of Evan Mobley and DeAndre Hunter. We know that Darius Garland missed game one with a toe. That's real concerning if they don't have these guys after they just lost home court in game one. How do you quantify it?
Find me a team that can survive three of its top three or three of its top 5 or 6 players being out. That's a problem when you're down 0-1. I will say this. For the last month, as the Pacers were making a run, because they finished very strong, the Cavs were watching Indiana with a bit of a side eye because Indiana is a tough matchup for them. Other than Boston, I think Indiana is the toughest matchup for them. They have wings that can guard their guards, and they have bigs that can mitigate the Cavs' giant bigs. And Indiana's playing great, and Halliburton's playing great. So even if they were all fully healthy, I think the Cavs knew they were going to have their hands full in this series. Now they got injuries. Their margin for error is very narrow. I would just say that in any playoff series, you have ups and downs. You have games where things go poorly. Guys get injured, whatever. I wouldn't sort of say that this information changes everything because none of them are being ruled out for the series. But if the Cavs go down 0-2, they're going to be in a situation that is completely not this team hasn't gone through before. So Indiana has a golden chance if these guys can't play tomorrow night.
Yeah, and they went through it a year ago. That's the one thing, and I hold myself accountable for this because they started poorly this year, Brian. I think and because Cleveland and Boston sort of established themselves as the heavyweights in the East, I'm guilty of just not giving Indiana their due, and I feel like now the bill's about to come due.
Well, Cleveland is very good.
I know.
So don't count anything out yet. But Indiana, when you look at the last 40 or 45 games, the difference between Cleveland, Indiana, and Boston was negligible. Indiana got off to a terrible start and had early injuries. For the last half of the season, they were pretty close. So this shouldn't surprise you if you were, not necessarily you, but anybody if they were paying attention.
No, but I'm owning it. I'm saying that I was guilty of not acknowledging that they were as big a threat as they are, and now that threat looks pretty pronounced. Brian, appreciate the time.
What's your favorite team? Comment below, and if you liked the video, please leave a like. This really helps the channel grow and brings you even more content. Oh, and if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button and activate the bell to receive all notifications. With each game, we notice that the NBA is getting more competitive every day, and all the teams are looking for reinforcements to win the championship. And only here can you follow your favorite team daily with incredible content from different sources. Here on the channel, there are new videos every day with analysis, curiosities, and the best moments in basketball. That's it for today, folks. Thanks for following along. The NBA doesn't stop, and neither do we. Until the next video. NBA, the passion that connects us.